So namaste, everyone. Welcome to class. Glad you're here. Just finding your comfortable seat wherever it may be this morning. We're just going to sit and settle in for just a moment. And just beginning to notice the breath in the body, noticing where you find it in the belly or the chest, and letting it expand just a little. With gratitude, we salute all the great yoga masters, past and present. Special prayer of thanksgiving for Baba Haridas. With joy, we recognize the excellent wisdom teachings of yoga, Ayurveda. And with vigor, we dedicate ourselves to self-transforming practice. So take that moment and ask yourself, what do you need today for self-transformation? And letting that thought expand for a moment, repeating it positively to yourself as if it had already happened 3 times. And then if you can, where you are, join me in one resounding Om. And on your next inhale, letting your eyes flutter open. And so if you're joining just a little bit late, I'm dealing with a sprained ankle and Jen is going to be teaching this morning. I'm going to be teaching, she's going to be demonstrating, okay? So just for you to know. And here we have her. All right. So thanks, Jen, for doing this for us this morning. Really appreciate it. So just finding your seat on the floor without the blanket for just a moment, just right on your bottom. And she's going to do those wonderful circles that I love to start with, which really gets our hips woken up. So going to one direction about 3 or 4 times. And then when you're done, go in the other direction 3 or 4 times. And notice how it's sit bone, tailbone, sit bone, pubic bone, sit bone, tailbone, sit bone, pubic bone. It's really going all the way around. Good. And then up into the center for a moment. And because we always choose our favorite side to put the leg on front, let's switch the legs, put the other leg in front, and let's do the same circles and just notice any different pressure in your hip basket. And 3 or 4 to the other side, slow as you want, as nicely rhythmic as you want. Good. And then just coming up nice and tall and opening up as much as you can the arms to the sides and then overhead. So just opening up the arms for a moment. Palms can touch for just a moment. And then take the thumbs down toward the spine. Just taking the thumbs down toward the spine, back and back, Jen. Sorry. Yep. And then bring them back up. So just waking up the triceps because we're going to do a little tricep action in just a second. So just bending at the elbow, just a few bends. Good. Excellent. 1 or 2 more, just until you're feeling nice and tall. Good. And then bring the arms this next time, after you go up the next time, bring the arms down in front, take them to either thigh, and then just taking a very gentle twist over to the left side. So inhaling, twisting to the left, and exhale right there. Inhale, continuing your twist a little bit. Exhale, don't lose the twist, just stay for a moment. 1 more breath. Inhaling into the twist. And exhale, return to the center. Good. And now we're going to go to the right side. So take a nice inhale and twist to the right. Pause, exhale the breath out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, a little bit more if you've got it in your upper chest. And then exhale, release the twist and come back to the center. Right. And now we're going to move into table pose for just a moment. Now let her go sideways on that. So just noticing again how the hands are underneath the shoulders. So it's really the wrist. We often say hands underneath shoulders, and we really mean wrist. And the hands are right underneath her face, right? And her knees are underneath her hips, okay? So she's going to make sure that that feels nice and comfortable. And then a couple of cat arches first, just to wake up the spine. So arching toward the ceiling and tucking the chin, looking back at the belly button, and then coming back through neutral, and then finding the other direction, as if the back of the head could touch the tailbone and the tailbone could touch the back of the head. So finding this flexion and extension along the spine, moving in a rhythm that suits your breath. Good. And this next time she comes back into a neutral pose, she's going to take her hips toward the heels and rest for a moment in extended child. So hips are toward the heels and arms are reaching out, armpits are lifted, forehead can touch the floor if that's there for you. If not, you can let your hips rise up a little bit and put your forehead on the floor. This is a very slight inversion. So if you're on your menstrual cycle or have glaucoma or any eye pressure problems or blood pressure issues that are not controlled, then drop your hips down to the heels no matter what and bring your forehead off the floor, maybe rest it on a block. Just a moment or two longer, just letting the spine be in traction for a moment. And then she's going to walk the hands out. Some people call this puppy pose. She's going to walk the hands out as she lifts the hips and come into just a very gentle sort of mountain pose. So she's bringing everything into line. And this is definitely an inversion. So if you're not inverting, just bring yourself forward into a plank. Could you show a kneeling plank for a minute too, Jen? Just coming right forward. So the kneeling plank will be where her body is even. The plank goes from the shoulders to the knees. So if you're not inverting, take the plank. Otherwise, let's come back into the puppy pose. Because this is downward facing dog, that's why it became the puppy pose. We could call it hill pose since ours is called mountain. All right. So just a couple more breaths there, allowing the spine to relax. And then walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. Keep the arms in toward the sides and come up. Good. Okay. So from here, we're going to thread the needle for a moment, just taking a twist. And I'm going to let Jen start with her left arm going out parallel to the floor. And then opening it up. So there's a little bit of twist over to the left side. And then the arm goes through and behind the right wrist and resting down on the left arm. Good. So just slowly, and just putting the hand on the sacrum. So the right hand is on the sacrum. Breathing. Just notice where you are in this twist. So we twisted up and now we're twisting kneeling. And then if you'd like, go ahead and bring your arm up toward the ceiling and face the palm to the wall in front of you, right where your face is facing. Good. Just press up from the left shoulder all the way through the right arm. Great. And then place the right hand on the floor in front of your face. And then unwind and bring the left side up to that little bit of a thoracic twist. All right. Keep coming, Jen. Come and open even a little bit more. Yeah, just feeling that. Hips are stable. Hips are beautifully stable. Great. And then hand to the floor. Great. And then in between, let's take a cat tuck, both directions, one in either direction. And then finding your neutral spot. Good. And then we're going to take the twist over using the right arm, reaching the arm out parallel to the floor initially, and then opening up to the right side. Beautiful. And then threading the needle underneath the left wrist, resting on your right shoulder. right side of the head to the floor. And then bring your left hand to your sacrum. Once you feel solid, don't move until you feel solid. Good. And just be there for a moment and breathe. Notice how the twist is in the thoracic spine because your feet are even, your hips are even, your knees are even pressure in both legs. And then letting the left arm float up toward the ceiling, palm facing the same way as your face. And just reach up, pressing all the way from the right shoulder into the left fingertips. Beautiful. And then the hand to the floor. Rock into that hand a little bit and then press the floor away. And then open up again, twisting a little bit of a thoracic twist out to the right side. Good. Hips stay perfectly even and then release. And then let's take again here a cat tuck in either direction, cat tuck, and then cat arch. Let's do one more. Cat tuck and cat arch. Good. And then finding neutral for just a moment. Good. And just being in table. Try to make sure that your head is an extension of your spine. And right now, just with your head, see if you can do this without moving any other part of your body. And make sure your neck stays as an extension of your spine. Take your gaze out to the right side. Out to the right side. Yeah, beautiful. And just keep pressing evenly into the hands, the knees, and the feet. Gazing to the right. And then without dropping your head a single millimeter, take your gaze to the floor. This is a little bit different of weight bearing. And then gaze out to the left side. Keep it stable. Tailbone all the way through the crown of the head. Feel that energy happening all along the spine. All of its beautiful natural curves. Good. And then take again without losing it, without losing the alignment. Face to the floor. Good. And then we're going to curl the toes under and press back for a moment into plank pose. Just press back. You may have to wiggle your feet back. Just a nice plank. Good. Just for a moment or two. Pull in the belly. Pelvic floor is lifted. And then let's drop to the knees. Just be on the knees for a second. Okay. Really press into the hands. Make sure that the arms are active. Belly is pulled in. Pelvic floor is lifted. You can really feel that you're engaged in your core. And then we're going to just walk for a moment. So right knee up, left knee up, right knee down, and left knee down. Again, right knee up, left knee up, right knee down, and left knee down. Two more times. Right knee up, left knee up, right knee down, and left knee down. One more. Right, left, right, left. Good. And let's press back to that extended child. Good. Armpits are lifted. And then just a tiny bit of strength building from here. So I want you to decide what is your pose today? You can either do mountain pose, downward facing dog, plank pose, or either of those with your knees on the floor, back to the puppy or the hill or back to a kneeling plank. But I want you to go up and I want you to hold this pose with your breath being even as much as you can for 2 minutes, starting now. So whatever your pose you're in, bend your knees even a little bit more, Jen, and take your hips back toward the next wall. Yeah, beautiful. That looks great, Suzanne. Those of you I can see. You're at 1 minute. So just check and see how you're feeling. We're going to do a second one if it's there for you. But don't feel like you're doing it for me. You're doing it for you. About 30 more seconds. And then very slowly transitioning back to extended child. Wherever you are, back to extended child. And your hips can be down or up. You decide which is the most comfortable. Another 30 seconds in extended child, just letting your body find equilibrium. Almost there. And then beginning to walk your hands until they're underneath your shoulders. Glue your elbows back by your ribs, not out to the side. And then press the floor away, spiral yourself up, come up slowly, nice and slowly. Good. Great. And then once you're all the way up, be still for just a moment. Just be still. Let the whole body find equilibrium again. And then we're going to come into our toe balance, which is really a ball of the foot balance. So we're not going to be on our heels. We're going to come up onto the balls of the feet and right into that balance. And you can put your hands on the floor or on a block, wherever you'd like to be for just a moment, just balancing on the ball of the foot. You can rest your hands on the floor, the block, the thighs. You can, if you want more power, you can bring them out at shoulder height, take them overhead, whatever you'd like to do, just finding your toe balance. And then trying to stay on the ball of the foot, we're going to press up slowly, just coming up nice and slowly. Try to stay on the ball of the foot. Use your arms to counterbalance any way you'd like. Good. And then once you're all the way up, nice and tall, drop down to your heels. Good. And then find your Tadasana. So maybe face us for a little bit, Jen, because we're going to do side stuff. So just finding your Tadasana. So finding that space between your feet that feels really comfortable for your legs. Pelvic floor lifts, belly is in, shoulders are alive and awake. Chin is parallel to the floor. Just finding your Tadasana. So doing that, it requires muscular energy. And then once you've done that for a moment, rest, like a standing Shavasana. Drop the muscles to the bones, pelvic floor, let it go for a moment, let the belly go for a moment. Shoulders go, jaw goes. Just finding that little respite in the middle of activity and taking advantage, letting the body recalibrate. Good, and then reactivate muscles. Start at the feet, toes lift, arches and ankles engage, shins wrap around the bone, knees wrap around, thighs wrap around, pelvic floor lifts, belly comes in, low back is stable, ribs are up, upright, shoulders are moving down, shoulder blades down the back. Good. And for just a few moments, let's do this Tadasana to Urdhva Tadasana. So simply taking the arms up overhead, palms to touch, and then coming back down as you exhale. So inhale up, And exhale, arms coming down. Just in that Tadasana. Seeing that if you can really keep that equilibrium in the body. Notice how the shoulder blades rotate on the backs as the arms come up and then down. Two more times, staying really stable through the core. Low back is super protected because your belly is super engaged and your breath is in your chest. Low chest, but chest. Good. And then we're going to add either a forward fold or a flat back. So Jen, will you go to the side real briefly just to show the difference, right? So if you're not inverting, you're going to take your arms up overhead. And then you're going to come to a flat back as you look over. And your arms can go to the sides or to the front, whichever's there. And then the next inhale, you'll come up. So arms to the sides, probably better for everybody. And then arms down to a flat back, right? So that's where you'll go. Now, if you're inverting, you're going to go all the way down into our Padasana or our forward fold, arms coming up overhead. And then as she hinges at the hips, she's releasing the upper body and letting go. And then on her next inhale, coming up. Okay, you can modify that by taking, let's do this one time, Jen. Let's go to flat back, hands to the shins, arms overhead, exhale to flat back, inhale, pause, exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back, exhale, pause, and then inhale all the way up. So maybe we could all do that for a moment. So we take that little break, and if you're not doing your forward fold, you just stay in that flat back and really re-engage, okay? So take a nice inhale, arms to the side, all the way up. As you exhale, forward fold to a flat back, arms to the side, but they rest on your shins or knees or thighs. Good. Take a nice inhale, and then exhale, fold. Next inhale, flat back. Pause to exhale, and then inhale, arms to the side, coming all the way up. Good. Exhale, hands to the heart. And again, inhale, arms to the sides, coming all the way up, palms to touch. Exhale, flat back. Hands to the thighs, knees or shins, just don't push back into your knees. On your next exhale, forward fold. On your next inhale, flat back, and you're welcome to just stay in flat back, and if that forward fold is aggravating anything. And then on your next inhale, arms coming up, out to the side and all the way up. Exhale, hands into the heart. Good. Just one more. Inhale, arms floating up. Exhale, flat back. Inhale where you are. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, lengthen. And inhale all the way up, belly to spine. Exhale, hands into the heart. Good. And then we're going to open the legs wide into Upavista Konasana. Good. A nice wide stance, whatever feels comfortable. Just make sure your heels are behind your second and third toe. So really just check your feet and your toes. And then just lift your toes for a moment. Engage your foot, engage the ankles. That's why my ankle is going to be well in 1 week instead of 1 month. Just because all of the work I try to do with my ankles. Okay, great. So from there, for just a moment, I'm going to have Jen just pick up the left heel and then rotate the left leg. Good, and straighten. Good. So just that one rotation, notice how that takes her belly button a little bit out to the left side. And then she's going to unrotate by picking up the heel, bending the knee, and replacing it. That gives us a really good idea of how much motion we have for that external rotation. So she's going to do the same thing with the right leg. Pick up the heel, bend the knee, and then rotate the thigh and the socket. Good. And then you'll see how her belly button went now a little bit over to the right, tiny bit to the right. Great. And then she's going to unrotate. Great. So find yourself in that unrotated position for just a moment and just be there. But lift your pelvic floor, make sure your belly is in, and bring 3 or 4 breaths into your lower chest. So feel the ribs expand out to the side, front and back. And then find the ribs recoil and come back in. So finding a few breaths in your rib cage. You can see how Jen is bringing the breath down into her ribs. The hands are expanding as her breath moves into the ribs. And then her fingers get closer again when the breath goes out. So that's recoiling, okay? So just a few of those for us to remember where our breath goes during these poses. So she's going to lift up now the left heel and rotate to the left. Good. And the left leg is straight. So the body is upright and the arms are going to float out to the side, shoulder height. And then as she's ready, she's going to do a bend to the knee to stack it over the left ankle. And then come back 3 times. Exhale back. Inhale, bend. We're going to switch the breath. Exhale back, belly to spine, pelvic floor lifted. Inhale, bend. And exhale back. Let's do one more and stay for 3 breaths. Exhale, bend. Good. And inhale, bend. And just 3 breaths. Find your 3 breaths there. Notice your pelvic floor is really lifted. You can gaze out to the left side. You may want to kick your right heel out a tiny bit more for anybody who doesn't feel that stability in the right side. And yours looked great, Jim, but I'm sure that one's more comfortable. Great. And then on your next inhale, arms overhead, straighten the leg and back, front and center as you unrotate the left leg. Hands to the heart. Good. And then just release the arms down for a moment or to the waist or to the legs or wherever you want. Now we're going to do the same thing on the right side. So pick up the right heel, bend the knee, and then rotate, straighten the leg, and make sure your belly is upright, everything's upright, you're feeling upright. Good. And then let the arms float up to shoulder height. No higher. Great. Okay. And then as you're ready, we're going to inhale, bend the knee, and exhale, come back. I want that exhale for you to lift the pelvic floor, belly in. Inhale, bend the knee, keep it lifted, and exhale back. One more. Inhale, bend the knee, and exhale back. And this time you're going to take 3 breaths when you stay. Exhale, inhale, and then breathing. And just notice the lift to the pelvic floor. You can take your gaze out to the right side. Left heel, check and make sure it's out and comfortable. Suzanne, take your left heel out a tiny bit more. That's it. That's going to give you a lot more stability in that left leg. Great. Excellent. And then slowly take the arms overhead as you straighten the leg, unrotate, and then bring the hands to the heart. And then heel toe until you feel comfortable to step together into your Tadasana. Good. And then just finding and reestablishing your Tadasana, and then let it turn gently into a standing Shavasana. Just gently, gently. And then on your next inhale, letting your eyes flutter open as you re-engage body. Start at your feet, lift your toes, lift your arches, lift your legs, your shins, your knees. Your knees lift, not because they lock, but because your thighs engage and they pull them up. Pelvic floor is lifted, belly is in, ribs are strong, shoulders are moving down. Good. So just finding that re-engagement of the whole body. We're going to do a little bit of a tree pose here, and it can be as weird a tree as you'd like. You don't have to do anything that you've seen in a picture anywhere. Just think of some weird tree with some stumps on it, okay? Put all of the weight that you can over onto your left side as you bend your right knee and peel up the right heel. Good. And then as you're ready, you create any tree you'd like. You can have external rotation. You can just keep it up to the front. You can kickstand the foot. Just don't press your left hip out. Make sure your left hip stays totally engaged wherever you are. The left hip stays engaged. And your arms can be any kind of tree branches that you might like. Think weird tree branches. And trees aren't symmetrical. Your arms can float. Beautiful. Look for that stability in that tree. Trees root down all the way down through Mother Earth. Couple more seconds. And then slowly release the pose and just reestablish your Tadasana. Take a moment in your Tadasana. Feel equilibrium on both sides, not just the side you were leaning into. Just really find the equilibrium. And then shift the weight over to the right side of the body and peeling up the left heel. And then any kind of tree you'd like to form. And it could be a different tree. One could have been a pine. This one could be a redwood. Any tree you'd like. Placing it anywhere. You can always kickstand the leg. And remember, trees sway. Trees are very, very ground. Think about all the whole root system going down energetically from your foot into Mother Earth, all the way through your building, through your concrete, through your wherever you are. Beautiful. Just another few seconds. And then as you're ready, slowly coming out of it, slowly reestablish your Tadasana just for a moment. Make sure both hips are feeling stable. And then we're going to go down into Upaveshasana, squat pose, okay? So you may want to take your feet and your knees out to the side. I like to do that so that I can keep my feet on the floor, but you decide. And then very slowly, you're going to start to drop your hips down. Take as much counterweight as you need to with your front body. You can reach your arms out as much as you'd like. And then once you get to like a happy place, just resting there in that squat for a moment. Upaveshasana. You can put your hands on the floor. You could hold onto blocks if you've got them at your side. Just anything that keeps you nice and stable. But make sure your knees and your second and third toe are in the same direction. Same direction. If you're not squatting, you can do chair pose. Chair pose is excellent right here. You can even put your bottom in a chair for a moment and still feel that downward flow if you're letting it go. Just find the chair, sit your bottom in. Knees are deeply bent as much as you'd like. If you have a rung on the chair, you can put your feet on the rung. Just finding your equilibrium here. And then use your hands to carefully make your way to the floor. Just nice and careful. Okay. So if you're not inverting today, then you will not do the next pose. And I'm going to ask you to do windshield wiper. So Jen, could you just show for a second windshield wiper? Feet are going to be on either side of the mat. This is if you're not inverting. Feet are on either side of the mat. And she's just lying down comfortably. And then she's going to drop the knees over to the left. Let's go left first. And arch her spine. And she can look to the ceiling or to the right a little bit. But the spine is definitely arched. You're not pushing your back to the floor. You need that arch. And then she can come back through neutral. And then go to the other side. Okay. So either way, you're arching the spine, looking at the ceiling or over to the other side. Okay. So that's if you're not inverting. If you are inverting, come back into neutral. And there she's going to go up into a bridge pose for just a moment. And of course, you can do Viparita Karni Mudra or shoulder stand, headstand, anything that's your treat. Jim, walk your feet a little bit further out, just a tiny bit to get them right under. Perfect, right there. right underneath her knees, and she all of a sudden too, and I'm sure her brain went, oh, that's so much more comfortable. So find that little bridge pose, just taking that little bit of bridge, and you're welcome to do any other inversion you'd like. You're going to be here for just about 2 minutes. If you feel like you don't have your cervical curve in your neck, just take a little gaze back at the wall behind you, tilt your chin toward the ceiling, and then bring your chin back into a neutral spot. About 30 more seconds, just enjoying it, feeling the return of the blood differently, the return of the lymph differently, everything in the body. The breath is different because now you have the weight of the abdominal organs on your chest, on your lungs. Everything's a little different. Just enjoying that. And if you're not inverting, just enjoying being in that other pose for just a few moments. That windshield wiper with that arched back. It's really good for the psoas muscles on the top leg. And then slowly and gently, let's bring your bottom down to the floor, get your shoulders and shoulder blades out of the way, and just be there for a moment. Don't do anything else. Don't pull your knees in, don't pull your legs in, don't do anything. Just be. And then we're going to start with your ascending colon. So your right leg is going to come into your chest. Right leg is going to come into your chest. Pavanmuktasana. You can extend out your left leg for just a moment if you'd like. Just extending it out along the floor and just feeling all of the gases. This is supposedly wind release, and you don't perfect it until you perfect it. So just feeling all of the gases in the system, the CO2 that's building up, that moves through your digestive system. And then letting that leg go. Then both legs bent on the floor again, just both legs bent. You can move your feet out a little bit more, make it a little bit more comfortable. And we're letting it kind of transverse right now, going across to the other side. And then your left descending colon, bringing the left leg in slowly. Just be there for a moment. You can reach in front of the knee, behind the knee. If you have any knee issues, reach behind the knee or down into the shin. And then extending out the right leg, just being nice and even, just letting your body do its work. Excellent. And then dropping that in completely. And then both feet on the floor for just a second longer. Knees are bent. Just both feet there. Just feel the belly. Notice your belly. And for just a moment, just a tiny bit of a cat tuck, the minimum possible. Roll your low back into the floor. Pubic bone up. And then roll your pubic bone down. Find your low back curve. So just 4 or 5 pelvic tucks. Pubic bone rolls down and pubic bone rolls up. Just a few pelvic tucks right there. Beautiful. And then beginning to extend the legs out and looking for your Shavasana. If you need anything to cover yourself up, grab it quickly. And then just letting your body relax. Babaji says this is the hardest pose of all. Just letting go. It is so challenging for us in this day and time to just surrender to the floor. Think of Mother Earth beneath you and surrender to her. Hands are below the heart. Jaw is soft. Lips may part slightly. Eyes are deep in the sockets. Breath is totally uncontrolled. And your only job here is to do nothing. Slowly and gently bringing your awareness into the breath. Just finding it in the body, in the belly or the chest, and not judging at all where it is. Let it begin to expand a little bit, this bridge between our gross bodies and our subtle bodies. Bringing the senses online, letting your eyes roll in the sockets and your tongue roam the mouth, wiggling your nose, wriggling your ears. Begin to swim the fingers and twinkle the toes. Just noticing how all of your perception that comes in through the senses, appreciating the senses, appreciating your mind that translates everything coming in, that remembers. Just waking up the body slowly and then deciding how you're going to make your way to one side in embryo pose. And once you're there, just be an embryo for a moment. Just curled up, all safe and secure. That embryonic C curve to the spine. Just enjoy newness, new possibilities. And then slowly and gently begin to press the floor away as you keep your chin tucked into your chest so that your head is the very last thing to spiral up, and just plop it on top of your spine. Once you're there in any seat, just getting still and let the asana do their magic. Just being still for a few moments, letting it all integrate. Body, breath, mind. And then slowly on your next inhale, letting your eyes flutter open. Great. Excellent. So I'm gonna share my space for a minute with Jen. Okay. Get right, see you guys right in the middle of us. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of resistance training today. And it's something we did at the very beginning of the pandemic. For those of you who've been with me for almost, well, now for over a year, I guess they started last week, my first classes. And I did it quite often because we thought that would really be helpful. And maybe it is and was. But all we're going to do is place our hands as if we were going to do Nadi Shodan with Vishnu Mudra. So we place the hands, but we squeeze gently, both nostrils, not all the way. You're going to bring the breath into the chest only. So only into the chest, bringing the breath into the chest region. So Jen, just maybe show how far the chest can come down. Because I'm stuck in the couch. Yes, so when she breathes, she's going to try to bring it into those side ribs, like it's called bucket handle breathing. So for just a few breaths, watch her exhale and her fingertips are going to be close, and then watch her inhale and how her fingertips expand. And so she doesn't have to talk, and so it's so much better. You can watch her exhaling and inhaling for a few breaths and just see the differential between the inhaled breath and the exhaled breath in the rib cage. So we're going to try to bring the air into that area of the ribs. We're going to fold in our index and middle finger, and you can also put them at the third eye center. We're going to use our thumb for the right nostril, ring finger for the left nostril. So whether they're tucked in or however you're using them. Don't put your arm down on your chest and restrict your breathing there. So just make sure the arm is at a comfortable position. Exhale the breath all the way out. Gently reduce the nostril size and breathe into the chest. Pause at the top, release that nose and exhale out. So it's only resistance on the inhale. Squeeze, inhale. Pause, exhale. Squeeze the nostrils a little, inhale, so feeling that restriction, pull it into the chest, let the chest expand. So it's going slower. And then when you're at the top of the inhale, pause and then exhale. Just slowly letting the ribs recoil, coming back in completely. You get to the bottom of the exhale, pause, restrict the breath, and then in. Just a little bit more. The next time you exhale, just pause for a second, take a catch breath or two. We're going to just let it fall into your natural breath pattern. We're going to pause for a minute. We're going to do it again for 2 more minutes, but I want you just to pause. Notice how you feel. So it's really important here to do it low in your chest, not high in your chest. If you breathe high into your chest, you activate your sympathetic, your fight, flight, freeze, okay? So keep it low in the chest. We're gonna do it one more time, exhaling the breath all the way out. Restrict the nostrils, inhale. Top of the inhale, a slight pause, release the nostrils, exhale. Follow your breath pattern. Just being sure you release the nostrils completely as you exhale and squeezing just enough for your inhale for you to feel that you're having to be more forceful and spread the size of your lungs. And then on your next exhale breath, just letting it go and just sitting for a moment and feeling the effects in the body, in the breath, and in the mind. We're going to slide right into a meditation with a very simple mudra. Just touching your index fingers to your thumbs in Jnani Mudra, resting the backs of the hands on the legs. So the mudra of knowledge. And if you want a mantra, if you have one, please use it. If you want one, let's say Aham Pran. I am breath. You can do it in English. You can do it in Sanskrit. Aham Pran. Aham Pran. Just sinking your body into Mother Earth, letting it relax completely, muscle to bone. Spine is erect. Body is soft. Breath is completely uncontrolled. I am breath. Aham Pran. Aham Brahma. I am breath. Bringing your meditation to a close. Bringing the hands into the heart, Anjali Mudra. Any merit we might have earned this morning, we lift it up to the welfare of all sentient beings. Remembering your intention that you said at the beginning of practice and repeating it to yourself 3 times in a positive fashion. And then letting that thought slip from your mind down into your heart space and from your heart symbolically out into the palms of your hands. Then lift them up and just let it go off into the universe. Bringing the hands gently back into the heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste. Okay. Let me get rid of our spotlights and let me get it where I can see you. Okay. And I think I didn't change it. I think everybody can unmute. Yes. Okay. So I have something in my eye. Let me see if I can get it out. Jen, thank you so much. That was so fluid for me. I hope it was okay for you, Jen. And I hope it was okay. I hope you students enjoyed it. I'm gonna retarte. I'm gonna dare you on Thursday, which is now at the same time, same place. I'm gonna tell you to get out of your pajamas, put on your sweatpants, which is what I have on, and let me see you so that I can give you some hints as we go. That's what I felt like when I do a yoga teacher training. It's often really great because I can watch the class and I go up and stay at the screen a lot more, right? So I can see you and I'll be glad if you're into being not corrected, but help. Suzanne, was that okay that I told you to stick your foot out? Yeah, it's great because I can see it. Like Jen, how did you feel when I could tell you to walk your heels out a little bit further? Like, tell us how that was. You thought they were on top of each other, right?
Yeah, I honestly didn't really think about it too much. And then I just did it. And then I was like, oh yeah, I should be mindful of where I'm putting my feet.
Yeah, so it's good to have a teacher help you out a little bit. It's never with a critical eye. It's to see if your prana can flow more evenly, if you can find, a lot more comfort in the pose. If all of a sudden your breath just goes, oh, gosh, that was easy. Why was I holding that so strongly? So Thursday, Jen's going to be demoing for me the same way. So I would love to have you actually join us on Thursday with your camera on if you're up for it. And you don't have to. You do not have to. You're welcome, and you're welcome to do it in your pajamas and stay just exactly like you are. That's what I'd probably be doing. Thank you. Thank you. I turned my ankle Thursday night, and I tell you, I've done everything Ayurvedically that I've known to do. I've been doing that. And I think it's super helped. And now today, for the first time, it's black and blue. And because the swelling went down enough that the blood could circulate. So it's feeling much better and putting a little pressure on it now. And I'll be back. Tomorrow, I'll be teaching my class on fire. Tomorrow is fire. And I'm going to have Donna. Those of you who know Donna, it's spelled D-A-N-A, that always is usually in class with us on often Tuesday and Thursday as well. She's going to demo for me tomorrow in the fire class, because I'm not risking it this week. I'm going to stay off of it except for gentle walking, and then see what I can do next week. But I can tell, I always talk to you guys about strengthening your ankles because of these silly cobblestones. Well, these weren't cobblestones. I fell downstairs, but same principle. I've really worked on keeping my ankle strong. And I think that really helped me not break a bone, which is not necessarily good, because a broken bone is a lot easier to heal than a sprain. But because the ligaments don't really do much. But yeah. Thank you, Varunta. Yes, Joyce Ann, my sweet friend. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I want you to see this beautiful bed and breakfast I'm staying at. So I'm going to real quick flick the camera and show you this gal's living. This is her plants all around her living room on the ceiling.
Wow.
She's got baskets in the corner, and she's got this mandala. So I'm in Reno.
Wow, how beautiful. Where are you?
I'm in Reno in the snow, just as my last day here.
Wow.
And now I need to flip back, I guess. Flip back?
Yes.
So my phone doesn't say Padmini anymore. It says Joyce Ann, huh? It's okay.
It does. It says Sweet Joyce Ann, which I love.
Sweet Joyce Ann. That's interesting. And I don't see the other participants, Kamalesh. Is that not on today, or?
Oh, no, it's on. They're all here. I think it's just your phone. I think you have to set it up like, if you swish on your phone.
Oh.
If you swish, do you get them? You went mute. Yeah. Because there's 20 of us. There were 20 something of us in the class. Yeah.
Thank you, Kamalesh.
You're so welcome.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah. So anything about that resistance breath? How did that feel for you guys? Don't be shy. Did it feel comfortable, uncomfortable?
It really brought attention to bringing my breath into my ribs, which I notice now that I don't pay too much attention to that. I feel like I focus so much on trying to bring my breath lower into my belly that it was different trying to focus on just this area. And so that was good practice for me. Thanks.
Good, Ian. And we want to encourage belly breathing because it's super good for engaging the parasympathetic nervous system and getting our rest and digest back online. But when we're doing asana, we need to do chest breath. We don't do belly breathing ever during asana unless you're laying on the floor and just doing belly breath, right? Because we need the strength of the abdominal muscles to support the low back. So it's really important that we learn how to spread that prawn into the rib area, the low rib area. Because if you get it up in here, like you're breathing up in here, then it's going to bring you into sympathetic reaction. So we want to learn how to spread those. So with that resistance breath, it slows it down, as you noticed, and then you can really pull the ribs apart. So it helps us to understand when I'm saying sometimes the breath will go where you create a negative vacuum, right? That's where the breath's going to go. So when you're doing that resistance, you are pulling your body apart. You're pulling your ribs apart. So the breath comes in, right? So it's that it's that symbiotic relationship of you breathing the universe breathing you. So it's a super way, I think, to practice our asana, is really being aware of that chest breath, low in the chest, right down there where you had your rib cage. Yeah. Yes, Jolanta.
Yeah, thank you. I felt the same, like Ian. Like it was at first very uncomfortable, but thank you also. I want to really thank you for reminding the instructions, you know, like not the upper chest, but the lower. I think I missed that, like in the beginning when you were giving the initial instructions. So thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, those of you who, whenever we take the breath up into this part of the chest, the breath is there, but the breath goes there all on its own, but the focus is low. And we have to keep the focus low to not aggravate that area and, go into that sympathetic mode. Yeah, yeah. And so how was it going back and forth for extended child? Was that relaxing? That was my intention, was for it to be a little bit relaxing, with that kind of being my returning pose several times. Did that feel okay to folks? Good, good, excellent. So any questions at all about pranayama, about the meditation? I hope you were the breath, because that's the bridge between our subtle body and our gross body, right? Prana, Maya, Kosha is that little wonderful bridge in. So just learning to use the breath allows us to find that meditative state much more easily than if we just try to sit sometimes and find that meditative state. Just using the breath and finding it in the body.
Definitely, the different breathing helped me meditate much more easily today than you in the other practices. So it was easier to focus, and the meditation was much more peaceful, for sure.
Good, Mamata, good.
And other question I had was also with doing your classes for a while now. Usually I can't squat 4 feet. I always on my toes. Today I was able to for the first time for a while. But
Yes.
I felt the pressure still more on the arches on the inner foot. It was not as evenly distributed. So I'm assuming that will be the next step.
It will. And let me give you a little hint of what will help a little bit, is if you put, those, I don't mean the yoga toes, because those are big and fat and expensive. I mean those little tiny pedicure things that go like that. They go like you. Get those and walk around your house in those 5 minutes a day, every day for a week.
Okay.
At least 5 minutes a day, every day for a week. And I promise you, your arches and your feet and your toes will be completely different in a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So just try it and think she's crazy, but that's okay, but just try it. And I promise that, and then you learn how to spread your toes, and you learn how to really open the toes and move the toes, and that supports your arches. Like the biggest change on my feet right now, between my foot that's all swollen, is that I can't see my toe tendons, because my toe tendons are very prominent because I work my toes and my arches so much. And on my swollen foot, I don't have any tendons yet. So I'll know the swelling is completely gone when I can see some tendons over on my right foot, right? So, but those tendons are really they're the muscles are along our shins. So we need to really work the toes. And what we're really working are the muscles along the whole of the tibialis, everything on the tibialis. So it's super important. And what's turned black and blue on me? Well, it's not blue, it's yellow. I have like as if I had hepatitis yellow, whole tibialis. My whole tibialis muscle is yellow. But that to me shows me that the whole fat of the muscle, the whole belly of the muscle, we called it, pulled into action, where I normally could have torn a ligament completely. But because I'm so used to working that muscle for those toe tendons, I actually hurt the muscle, which is better than hurting and pulling off and splitting a tendon, right? So I encourage you all, get those cheap pedicure things at the dollar store, because you can get a bag of 20 of them, and then you can wear them and throw them away if your floor gets anywhere near my floor's dirt. Just throw them away after they get dirty, and you can get them at the dollar store and just use those for a while. The yoga toes are too big and they're also expensive, and I don't understand. So okay, everybody. Well, it was great hanging out with you. For those of you who are coming to class with me tomorrow through Mount Madonna, and it's also even, you can come to just one class. Tomorrow is fire. We're doing the 5 elements, and tomorrow is fire. And then if not, I'll see you hopefully on Thursday. And Jen, thank you for helping me so much today, and look forward to having you back in the classroom on Thursday. And remember, you can be in your jammies, but just see if you're willing to turn your camera on in class. Okay, everybody. Namaste. Have a great one. Thank you so much. Ciao.